study series. Today, we're diving deep into Medicaid Asset Protection Trust, one of the most powerful and often misunderstood tools for protecting your home, savings, and life's work from long-term nursing care costs. Excuse me. If you or a loved one might need Medicaid to need Medicaid to cover nursing home care costs someday, this strategy can mean the difference between keeping your assets for your family and watching them get spent down to under the $2,000 Medicaid spending or Medicaid asset cap. We'll break down exactly how these trusts work in 2026, the critical 5-year timing rule, and the pros and cons in the step-by-step process. Quick disclaimer, as always, this is for educational purposes only. This is not legal advice. Medicaid rules are complex and vary by state. Every family situation is different. Always consult a licensed elder law attorney in your state. Results vary. Let's get into it. So, what is a Medicaid Asset Protection Trust? Also called an MAPT, Irrevocable Medicaid Trust, or Medicaid Planning Trust. Different lawyers, different firms call them different things, but they're all essentially the same thing. Is a specially designed irrevocable trust that removes assets from your accountable resources for Medicaid eligibility purposes. That irrevocable title or irrevocable piece is key. Essentially, what that means is once it's in place, it can't be changed. Once assets are transferred to the trust, they are no longer considered yours for Medicaid purposes. The trust owns them, and after the required waiting period, Medicaid cannot force you to spend them down to qualify for Medicaid benefits. This is not, as I just said, this is not a revocable trust. It is irrevocable, which is what makes it work for Medicaid qualification purposes. So, how it works: the 5-year look-back rule. If you've done any sort of research into Medicaid, getting qualified for Medicaid, you've most likely come across the 5-year look-back period. Most states have it. It's a 60-month, 5-year look-back period. Any assets that you transfer into the trust within that 5-year period are treated as a gift and can create a penalty period of ineligibility. So essentially, the day you apply for Medicaid, they're going to look back and see what you've done with your assets for the past 5 years. Did you give them away? Did you put them into an irrevocable trust? All that sort of thing. And if you have, they determine the value of that gift, divide it by the daily cost of Medicaid care, and that's the penalty period. That's how long you'll have to self-pay before you can actually qualify for Medicaid. Like I said, the clock starts the day you apply. That's why these trusts are a proactive tool. You set them up well in advance. If you have a loved one going into a nursing home within the next few months, that you cannot use a Medicaid Asset Protection Trust. Once that 5-year period is up, assets in the trust are not countable for Medicaid eligibility purposes. The trust assets are generally protected from Medicaid, and also they're generally protected from Medicaid recovery after you pass away. And the reason for that is that Medicaid will make a claim against your probate estate. And they keep track of how much money they've spent on you. And if you spent several years in a nursing home, that can easily exceed $100,000, and they'll make that claim against your state. However, because your assets are in a trust, they do not go through probate. They bypass the probate process, so you can keep them for your family. And then you can still receive income from the trust, but you give up direct control of principal. So what are the pros and cons here? The pros: protects your home savings and investments for your family and loved ones, so that your money goes to who you want it to go to, not the state. Avoids catastrophic spend down scenarios. Nursing homes easily cost between $8,000 and $10,000 a month, and you can particularly with something like dementia or Alzheimer's, you can spend multiple years in a nursing home, and that tallies up, or that gets expensive quick. Assets bypass probate and are shielded from creditors in many cases, and then you can still benefit indirectly. Again, you can live in the home, assuming it's titled property, that you work with a good elder law attorney who's going to make sure all the assets are titled the way they're supposed to be titled. All right, so what's the downside? What are the cons here? It's irrevocable. Once transferred, you cannot take the assets back. You could take the assets back, but it's going to reset the 5-year look-back period. The 5 years is required for full protection. Loss of direct control over those assets. Now, you can have an adult child be the trustee, but you have no direct control over those assets. and the setup costs. It can be, depending on the complexity of your case and what all we're doing for you, it can vary from a couple $1,000s to in excess of $10,000. And again, it depends on the complexity of your case, how much we're trying to protect, and a few other things along those lines. But the bottom line, this is a long-term planning tool. It's not a last-minute fix. So here's the practical roadmap. Number one, work with an experienced elder law attorney to draft the trust. As I mentioned at the beginning of this video, Medicaid rules are complex. So you want to make sure you're working with someone who knows those and knows what can be put in the trust, how to put it in the trust, and fund everything. Transfer assets immediately and not piecemeal. So you get the house, whatever cash you're going to put into there, do that immediately so the clock starts running on the 5-year look-back period. Number three, name a trusted third party, usually an adult child, or if you have a CPA or a lawyer that you trust, they can be the trustee as well. And then once the trust is in place, it's funded, continue living your life. You can often, like I said before, remain in the home and receive income from the trust, but you cannot touch the principal. And then after 5 years, apply for Medicaid if long-term care is needed. The trust assets are now protected. So key takeaways in when to act. Medicaid asset protection trusts are one of the strongest legal ways to shield assets, but they require planning years ahead of time, very proactive. Number two, the 5-year look-back period is non-negotiable in pretty much every state. I'm off the top of my head, I'm not aware of a state that doesn't have the 5-year look-back period. And then proactive planning now can save your money, save your family thousands of dollars later, hundreds of thousands of dollars later. So pro tip, if you're over the age of 60 and own a home or significant savings, give us a call, schedule a Medicaid consult, and let's talk about what sort of proactive planning we can do so that you're not ending up wasting your entire life's work paying for a nursing home. So that wraps up our deep dive on Medicaid asset protection trusts. If you're thinking about long-term care planning for yourself or a parent, this is one tool worth understanding. Drop your questions about this in the chat. I'll answer them live, or we'll do a follow-up stream and answer those as well. And so next time we'll be back with another probate or estate planning story. Hit follow, subscribe so you get notified whenever we go live with these things. And of course, if you have a specific question or topic you'd like us to cover, please let us know. And then final reminder, this was for educational purposes only. This is not legal advice. Medicaid rules are strict. Work with a licensed and experienced elder law attorney in your state as soon as possible. Thanks for joining us. This has been Bobby Sawyer. Have a great day.